She told you everything was fine, but her eyes said she was already leaving, until the moment you touched the one place that made her whole body remember why she fell for you in the first place. Most men never find that place. They chase surface-level tricks, loud gestures, and quick fixes, while the real reason she pulls away stays hidden. The truth is, 99% of women don't go distant because of one big fight. They drift because they feel emotionally untouched, even when you're right beside them. They feel seen for their smile, their responsibilities, their good partner role, but never for the quiet storm underneath. What I'm about to tell you is something relationship experts rarely say out loud because it forces you to look at yourself instead of blaming her. The place that makes her go crazy isn't a physical spot you can memorize from some list. It's the exact point where her nervous system decides whether she can trust you with her full self. And for most women in the USA, UK, and Canada today, that trust has been broken so many times that they've stopped expecting it. Here's the first hidden truth. She goes crazy when you kiss the part of her that feels invisible. Not with your lips, with your attention, with the kind of focused, steady presence that says, I see the version of you that you're scared to show, and I'm not running. Women carry an invisible exhaustion that men rarely notice. They manage their image, their emotions, their career, their family expectations, and the constant calculation of whether they're too much or not enough. By the time they come home to you, they're performing even in their own relationship. They smile when they're anxious. They say, I'm okay, when they're overwhelmed. They initiate sex when they actually want connection first. And every time you miss that deeper layer, a small piece of her attraction dies. This is why so many couples feel close on paper, but emotionally divorced in private. You think the spark is gone because life got busy. She knows the spark is gone because you stopped kissing her mind before you ever touched her body. The women who watch this channel already know what I'm talking about. They've felt the difference between a man who kisses to get something and a man who kisses to give safety. One makes her polite, the other makes her melt because her nervous system finally stops scanning for danger. Real psychology shows that female attraction is heavily tied to emotional safety first. When she feels truly seen, her body and heart respond with a level of openness that looks like going crazy to someone watching from the outside. Her shoulders drop, her breathing changes, her eyes soften. She leans in instead of pulling away, not because of technique, but because you finally touched the place that matters most, her need to stop performing. This is the part they never taught you in school or in your father's advice. Most men were raised to believe women want confidence, money, or endless compliments. Those things can help, but they don't reach the place that makes her feel alive. The real place is the intersection of being desired and being understood at the same time. When you kiss her there, with your words, your consistency, your willingness to sit in hard conversations without fixing or fleeing, something primal wakes up in her. She doesn't just feel wanted, she feels safe to want you back fully. And here's where it gets heavy. If you've lost her before, it probably wasn't because you weren't attractive enough. It was because you kissed her surface while her deeper self stayed starving. You texted good morning but never noticed when her good morning stopped being real. You planned dates but never planned emotional space for her fears, her dreams, or her exhaustion. You touched her body, but never touched the fear that she wasn't enough for someone to stay present with. That fear is the real spot. When you finally kiss it, when you prove through your actions that you can hold her complexity without judging it or needing to shrink it, her entire system relaxes. And a relaxed woman who feels safe is a woman who loves fiercely, loyally, and passionately. This is why self-improvement isn't optional here. The man who can reach this place must first reach it inside himself. He must become someone who doesn't panic when she shows the messy parts. He must develop the emotional strength to stay calm when she tests whether he's really safe. He must learn that patience and presence are the strongest forms of seduction. Women aged 18 to 65 listening right now are feeling this in their chest. Some of you are in marriages where the house is perfect and the connection is dead. Some of you are dating and already sensing the same pattern repeating. You don't need another surface-level tip. You need to understand that the place she wants kissed most is the part of her that feels alone even when she's loved. When you finally reach that place, she doesn't just respond, she opens. Her laughter becomes real again. Her touch becomes eager instead of obligatory. Her trust returns because you showed her that you're not just another man looking for the easy version of her. The men who master this don't chase women. Women start leaning toward them naturally because their nervous system recognizes home. If you're ready to stop losing the women you care about to emotional distance, the work starts here, with the uncomfortable realization that you may have been kissing the wrong place all along. You felt her pulling away even while she was still in your arms, and the worst part is, you had no idea the real reason had nothing to do with love fading. It was because you never kissed the one place that carries her heaviest burden. Most men never see it. They notice the silence, the shorter texts, the sudden distance, but they blame her mood, her period, or women being complicated. The uncomfortable truth is that 99% of women start to go cold when they realize they are carrying the emotional weight of the relationship alone. They are managing your feelings, managing the vibe, managing the future, managing their own needs so they don't rock the boat. And after months or years of that invisible labor, something inside them simply shuts down. This is the second place almost no one talks about, honestly. It's the exact spot in her psychology where she holds the constant question, if I stop driving this relationship, will it fall apart? When you finally kiss that place with real action, not words, her entire nervous system reacts with a level of relief that looks like she's going crazy for you again. Her warmth returns, her playfulness returns, her desire returns, not because you performed better, but because you finally took the wheel without taking her freedom. Women today are raised to be strong, independent, and emotionally intelligent. They learn early how to anticipate problems, smooth over conflict, and keep everyone happy. In relationships, that training becomes a trap. She starts to lead even when she doesn't want to. She becomes the one who plans the important conversations, who notices when things feel off, who carries the mental list of what needs fixing. And every time you stay passive, every time you wait for her to set the emotional tone, that hidden place inside her grows more exhausted. The mentor truth here is harsh but freeing. She doesn't want to be the strong one all the time. She wants moments where she can lay that burden down. Not forever, not in a childish way, but in the arms of a man who has the self-discipline to lead with calm certainty instead of reacting with anxiety or avoidance. This is where male psychology often collapses. Many men confuse leadership with control. They think taking charge means telling her what to do or becoming dominant in an aggressive way. That doesn't make her go crazy with connection. It makes her guarded. Real leadership kisses the place of her exhaustion by being decisive without being dictatorial. It means you plan the date instead of saying, "What do you want to do?" It means you handle your own emotions instead of dumping them on her. It means you stay consistent even when life gets hard instead of withdrawing until she has to chase you. When a woman feels that steadiness, her body and mind respond at a primal level. The constant scanning stops. The mental load lightens. She begins to trust that she doesn't have to be the adult in the room every single day. And in that trust, something powerful happens. She softens. She opens. She looks at you with eyes that say she feels safe enough to want you again. This explains why so many relationships die in quiet resentment. She isn't angry at you for one specific thing. She's exhausted from always being the one who feels everything first. She's tired of being the emotional manager. And when that tiredness settles in her bones, no amount of flowers or apologies reaches her. But when you kiss that exact place, when you show up with consistent, grounded direction, her nervous system registers it as the safest form of love she's ever known. Men from their 20s to their 60s watching this are probably feeling the weight of this truth right now. You were taught that being the nice guy, the agreeable guy, the guy who never causes tension, was the path to keeping her. But that path often leads straight to her emotional detachment. Because nice without strength eventually feels like another responsibility she has to carry. The women listening already know this feeling too well. Many of you have stayed in relationships far longer than you should because you kept hoping he would finally see the invisible weight you were holding. You kept hoping he would kiss that place without you having to beg or explain it. And when he didn't, the love didn't disappear overnight. It faded one unnoticed moment at a time. The self-improvement piece most people miss is this. Becoming the man who can reach that place requires you to do your own inner work first. You must regulate your own emotions. You must develop clarity about what you want and the courage to express it cleanly. You must stop using her as your emotional thermometer and start becoming steady on your own. When you do that work, you stop chasing her affection and start creating an environment where her affection returns naturally. She stops managing you and starts desiring you. The relationship stops feeling like a second job for her and starts feeling like a sanctuary. This is the part they never told you in dating advice or marriage counseling. The place that makes her respond at the deepest level isn't about grand romantic gestures. It's about removing the invisible labor she's been carrying alone. It's about showing up as someone she doesn't have to guide, fix, or emotionally parent. When you finally kiss that place consistently, the shift is undeniable. She stops testing. She stops distancing. She leans in with a level of trust that makes the connection feel electric again. Not because you became perfect, because you finally became safe in the way her nervous system has been begging for. The real tragedy is how many couples never reach this understanding. They stay together physically but remain strangers emotionally. They share a home but not the deepest parts of themselves. And all because that one place, the place that carries her exhaustion, was never truly touched. If you want to stop watching the woman you love slowly disappear while still sitting right next to you, this is where the real change begins. Not with more effort, with more awareness, with the courage to take ownership of the emotional space between you instead of leaving it all on her shoulders. She smiled like nothing was wrong, but inside she was waiting for the moment you would finally see the real her and walk away. And that silent fear was killing the connection faster than any argument ever could. This is the third place most men never reach, and the reason so many women eventually say they just don't feel the same anymore. It's the hidden chamber where she stores every part of herself she believes is too much, too broken, too contradictory, or too dark to be loved. The anxiety she hides behind competence, the anger that has old roots, the insecurities that still whisper even after years of growth, the moments she feels needy, jealous, or uncertain. She has spent her life learning to package herself in ways that keep people comfortable, and the exhaustion of that performance is slowly destroying her desire. The shocking truth is that 99% of women go crazy in the deepest emotional sense when you finally kiss this exact place with genuine acceptance instead of judgment or fear. Not with superficial compliments, not with "you're perfect" lies. With the steady willingness to look at her full truth and still choose her without trying to fix, shrink, or punish what you see. Female psychology has been shaped by decades of subtle training. Be agreeable, be low maintenance, be understanding, don't be the crazy one, don't be the emotional one, don't be the difficult one. So she learns to edit herself in real time. She watches your face when she shares something vulnerable. She measures whether your voice changes, whether your affection cools, whether you suddenly become sarcastic or distant. Every time that happens, she adds another lock to that hidden place and tells herself it's safer to stay quiet. This is why so many relationships that look healthy on the outside feel like slow emotional death on the inside. You think you know her, but you only know the representative she sends out to keep the peace. She knows the difference, and that knowledge creates a special kind of loneliness, the kind where you can be deeply loved, yet still feel completely unknown. When a man finally touches this place with real courage, everything shifts. He doesn't flinch when she shows the messy parts. He doesn't rush to solve her emotions like they're problems to be fixed. He doesn't store her honesty as future ammunition. Instead, he stays present. He stays respectful. He stays grounded in himself. That combination of strength and acceptance hits her nervous system like nothing else. Her guard drops. Her body relaxes. Her heart opens in a way that looks and feels like she's falling for you all over again. This is the part they never taught you about dating dynamics. Most advice focuses on communication techniques or bedroom skills, but the real trigger is emotional courage. The man who can sit with her contradictions without losing his center becomes magnetically attractive, not because he's perfect, but because he proves he can handle the full spectrum of who she is. In a world that constantly tells women to be more palatable, being fully accepted is revolutionary. Men listening across the US, UK, and Canada, this is where your self-improvement must go deeper than gym routines or financial goals. You must build the internal stability to hear hard truths without becoming defensive or collapsing. When she says she feels distant, your job is not to panic and demand reassurance. Your job is to get curious, to ask what part of her has been unseen, to prove through your consistency that her honesty is safe with you. Women watching already feel the ache of this truth in their bones. Many of you have walked away from good men not because they were bad, but because they could not touch this place. They loved the version of you that was easy. When the real you appeared, their love became conditional. And conditional love, no matter how polite, eventually feels like abandonment. The psychology here is brutal, but clear. When a woman believes she must hide pieces of herself to keep your love, desire cannot survive. Desire needs truth. It needs room to breathe. It needs the knowledge that she can bring her whole self into the relationship and still be wanted. When you kiss that place, when you show her through your actions that her complexity makes her more valuable, not less, her response is profound. She stops performing, she stops managing, she begins to trust. And a woman who trusts at this level loves with a depth that most men never experience. This hidden place explains why some relationships suddenly come back to life after a period of distance. It's not usually because of a vacation or a grand gesture. It's because something finally touched the part of her that was starving to be known completely. She stops bracing. She stops calculating. She starts responding from her real self instead of her protected self. The mentor truth most people will never tell you is this. The quality of your relationship is determined by how much of her real self feels safe to exist in your presence. If only 60% of her feels safe, you get 60% of her passion. If 90% feels safe, you get a woman who looks at you like you're the only man in the room. Reaching this place requires humility. It requires the willingness to admit you may have been loving a version of her instead of the whole woman. It requires doing your own work so you don't react to her honesty like it's an attack on your value. When you do, the reward is the kind of connection that makes people look at the two of you and wonder what your secret is. The secret is simple. You stopped being afraid of the real her. You kissed the place most men run from, and in doing so, you gave her permission to come home to herself and to you at the same time. That is when she stops going through the motions and starts going crazy for the man who finally saw everything and stayed. She stayed with you, smiled on the outside, and quietly mourned the version of herself that once felt truly alive. Because she believed the deep spark she craved was something she was supposed to outgrow. This is the fourth and most guarded place, the one that separates relationships that survive from the ones that stay electric for decades. It is the exact spot inside her where safety and aliveness meet. Most men can eventually reach one or the other, but very few learn how to touch both at the same time. They become safe and predictable, or exciting but unstable. When you finally kiss this precise place with disciplined desire and steady respect, something in her unlocks that cannot be faked. Her eyes change. Her voice softens with new warmth. She begins to crave you in a way that feels almost dangerous to her own peace. The hidden truth most couples discover too late is this. A woman does not want to choose between peace and passion. She wants a man who can deliver both. She wants to feel safe enough to let her guard down completely, yet awakened enough to feel that being with you makes her more alive than she is on her own. This combination is rare, which is why so many women in long-term relationships slowly go quiet inside. They settle for safety and mourn the electricity, or they chase electricity and lose their peace. Either path leaves her emotionally starving. Female psychology is wired to respond powerfully to this balance. When she feels your presence as both grounded and magnetic, her nervous system registers it as the ultimate form of being chosen. Not chosen out of desperation, not chosen out of convenience, chosen by a man who has the strength to want her fully while still controlling himself. That self-mastery is the key that turns the lock. It tells her you will not become weak in the face of her beauty or her storms. You will not become reckless with her heart. You will not lose yourself in the desire and forget the respect. This is where many men unknowingly destroy the very connection they want. They think passion means losing control. They push, they chase, they become needy the moment she opens. What they don't understand is that disciplined desire is far more intoxicating. A man who can feel everything and still remain centered creates a psychological pull that no amount of technique can replicate. She feels wanted without feeling hunted. She feels pursued without feeling pressured. She feels desired without feeling responsible for managing your emotions. For the men listening, this is the self-improvement work that actually matters in the second half of life. It is not about becoming colder, it is about becoming clearer. Clear in your intentions, clear in your boundaries, clear in your devotion. When you embody that, you stop performing romance and start creating a relationship where she feels both protected and awakened. That is the combination that makes her look at you after 10 or 20 years like you still surprise her. Women across the USA, UK, and Canada know this feeling intimately. Many of you have lived in the quiet grief of loving someone who is safe but no longer moves you. You tell yourselves that mature love is supposed to be calm, but deep down, you know something is missing. The alive feeling. The sense that being with him makes your whole system light up instead of just feeling comfortable. When a man finally touches this fourth place, that missing piece returns. Not because he became perfect, but because he became whole. The four places together form the complete map most people never see. The place where she feels truly seen. The place where she can lay down her emotional load. The place where her hidden self is accepted without shame. And this final place where safety and desire live in the same breath. Touch all four consistently, and she does not just love you. She becomes devoted in a way that survives real life. This is the knowledge they never wanted you to have. Because once you understand it, you stop blaming her for losing interest and start looking at whether you have been kissing the right places all along. You stop chasing surface fixes and start doing the deeper work of becoming the kind of man whose presence alone shifts the temperature in the room. The women who have experienced this kind of connection describe it the same way. They feel chosen, rested, known, and still electrified. They stop scanning for threats. They stop performing. They simply become more of themselves in your presence. And that is the ultimate sign that you have reached the places that matter. If you have been losing the women you love to slow emotional drift, the answer has never been more effort or better lines. The answer has always been learning to touch the places she stopped expecting anyone to reach. Now I want to ask you a personal question, and I want you to answer it honestly in the comments below. Which of these four places do you think has been missing in your relationships? And what is one thing you will do differently starting today to finally kiss it? If this video woke something up in you, like it, subscribe for more raw truths about male and female psychology, dating dynamics, and self-improvement, and share it with a friend who needs to hear this before they lose someone they truly care about. Your comment and share might be the reason their relationship changes forever.